assimilating to the dominant
But,
culture. Is that not
well,
what melting
no,
means?
no, it doesn't
and
mean
now
that
instead we're saying there's something wrong with
dominant
xenophobia.
Culture. No. I mean, look, I got to be honest with you. Like, you and I have a fundamental disagreement. We will never see eye to eye on this.
Why am I watching Matt Walsh? Matt Walsh is getting his brain broken by Sam Seder. Sam Seder was on the Jubilee episode, and it's breaking all these conservatives' brains, Matt Walsh included.
Sam Seder. You probably recognize the name because this is, sadly, the second time I've mentioned it in a week. Last week it was because his co-host was laughing hysterically at a female athlete who sustained a traumatic brain injury at the hands of a trans male. Now we have a story involving Sam himself. And as I mentioned last week, Sam has done literally dozens and dozens of segments about me on his show. He's been begging for my attention for years. He is one of my biggest fans. And now that I've mentioned his name twice in a week, Sam is no doubt on cloud nine. And that's fine. You know, I'm glad that I can make the little guy feel good about himself. But in any event, Sam Seder recently did that thing where he sits in the middle of a crowd and faces off against more than a dozen people who disagree with him in rapid succession. It's a series you've probably seen called Surrounded. It's a kind of speed debate organized by Jubilee Media. And one after another in this debate, Sam's amateur opponents completely demolished him. And there's one moment in particular that I want to focus on, and it's getting a lot of attention online. Here it is.
What's the problem with xenophobic nationalism? Don't you think that's better for Americans in general?
To be xenophobic,
yes.
Nationalism is better.
We should have a coherent culture. Everyone should be a part of the same culture. We should have assimilation.
Which, do you get to choose what the culture is?
We already have a dominant culture.
What is
based
the dominant
on
culture?
European and Christian values and identity. That is the dominant culture.
White Christian,
it's rooted in European identity.
White. So your argument is that
has been the dominant culture.
Just to be
and
clear,
we're not letting people assimilate to that. We're saying you should keep your culture, and this is why our culture is so divided.
Your argument is that Trump is good for those who want a dominant white European culture.
I mean, that is what America is. It's rooted in European identity and Christian values. That's what it has been. Would you really disagree with that? What is it then, if that's not the identity of America?
Well, I think the identity of America...
For the majority of time, America's been a country. You don't think that's been the identity?
Well, actually, no. I think actually the identity of America has been, you know, for better or for worse, a melting pot.
Before I play the...
And here's someone crying, you know, that their white supremacy is dying out in this country, that we are evolving to become more whole people, that yes, for sure, little white girl that, you know, who talks to Sam Seder, you know, that your culture is bringing something. By far, it's bringing something. I'm not discounting what you have to bring to the table. I see you, you know, and it's very important what you bring to the table. But do you see all the other things that are coming together? That there are other things that can be a part of this culture, that we have to give and take, that this is what makes, actually makes America great. You know, Sam Seder is going for the point that, you know, that it's a certain type of people that are only going to benefit from this system whenever this system is clearly dying out. You know, that's what Sam Seder's saying. And then you have the girl who's going to say, no, this system's doing perfectly fine. We just have to keep on putting our head in the sand and just riding it out. You know, the Christ, white Jesus is going to save us.
The rest of the conversation, notice what's already happened here. The woman, who, by the way, is named Sarah Stock, presents a clearly defined view of American identity. She handles herself very well during the whole exchange and deserves a lot of credit for it. Sarah says that America is rooted in Christianity and European values, which is obviously true. But even if you disagree with that for some reason, you'd be wrong. But even if you do, at least she's presenting some sort of definition of what it means to be American. She's offering an affirmative explanation of American culture. On the other hand, Sam cannot provide a definition at all. Instead, he offers a cliche. He says America is a melting pot without explaining what that means exactly. He simply implies that we've always been a melting pot. And then for good measure, he says that the woman is advocating for a dominant white culture, which is how Sam presumably wins all of his arguments with his leftist friends, because anything white is automatically bad and bigoted and evil. So he could just say, oh, well, so you're advocating for something white? And with his friends in his world, that's enough. That's the end of the conversation. But he's in a world here with people where that's not the end of the conversation. Because in this context, where the word white doesn't inspire terror in everybody in the room, the tactic does not work. And so we're left with the substance of what he's saying, which falls completely flat. The main problem with Sam's argument, of course, is that America has not always been a melting pot, as that term is generally understood. This country was composed of white, Western European Christians almost exclusively in its first years. This is the core of America. Those are the people who formed this country. And then afterwards, white, Western European Christians were still the dominant demographic for much of our history. To the extent that there was a melting pot in the United States, it was among different kinds of European Christians.
And I'm glad that Matt Walsh, whenever he brings up Europeans, the first thing he's going to bring up is farming. That's great. They were the ones who farmed this earth. The word farming sounds a lot just like using. They know how to use this earth. The people that were before you, Matt Walsh, before the Europeans, the Native Americans, it's a callback to, being one with the earth, to treating it like it's an equal. Maybe not even like an equal, like it's maybe greater than us, since it's going to be here for our children, for the next generations, forever. It's going to be here. As long as we're here, the earth is going to be here. It's our home. So we're not farming the earth. I get that that's something that you bring to the table, that Europeans bring to the table. Sam Seder sees that. It's not bad. We're not saying that's bad. We're saying, is that dominant? Is it starting to fall out? Are we starting to fall completely into just like a consumer, narcissistic, like that entire culture is now falling apart, which is perfectly fine that's falling apart because it's going to evolve. But, you don't see that. You're going to hold on to this, white knuckle it until you're having to let go completely, until life makes you let go.
Continental Protestants versus Irish or Italian Catholics. That was the melting pot. Now, as the conversation goes on, the woman presses Sam on this point, and again, he has no response to it. Watch.
Yeah, maybe since like the 1960s. Even then, even we had this idea of a melting pot literally means assimilation too. It means melting. It means you're assimilating to the dominant culture. Is that not what melting means?
No, it doesn't
and
mean
now
that
instead we're saying there's something wrong with
the dominant
xenophobia.
Culture. No. I mean, look, I got to be honest with you. You and I have a fundamental disagreement. We will never see eye to eye on this. It's a choice. And I think what you're expressing, though, is really what the Trump movement at its heart is about. And I think that's problematic.
I disagree. I don't think Trump's anywhere close to being a Christian nationalist. That's ridiculous. Trump's basically a Democrat from 15 years ago when it comes to social issues.
So you don't think that he's conservative enough for you?
Oh, definitely. Nowhere close. No.
He's not xenophobic enough for you?
No, he's trying to import a bunch of H-1Bs. Are you kidding?
Right. Oh, so you want to get them out too? Yeah. No, I think you're making my argument for me.
We hear about this idea of a melting pot, and there's some disagreement over the precise meaning of the term melting pot. In the clip we just played, the woman, Sarah, debating Sam, says that the term melting pot implies assimilation. Sam apparently has a different idea in mind. He's probably thinking of a melting pot as a reduction to the lowest common denominator. Whichever definition you use in this part of the debate, the woman who's debating Seder is correct that America certainly didn't become a melting pot by any definition of the term until relatively late in the country's history. We first saw major immigration surges in the late 19th century, coming predominantly from Southern and Eastern Europe. And these surges, of course, have intensified in recent years. According to census data, the foreign-born population of the United States doubled from 1970 to 1990, from around 10 million to 20 million. And that's just the people we're tracking with.
Just say that you hate us, dude. Matt Walsh, just say that you do not like people that aren't white. That's it. Sam Seder is proving the point. Just say that you do not want these people to come in and, take my jobs and take over what it all is about. Let's go back to making America great whenever you guys had slaves. Right, the 19th century. Get the fuck out of my face, Matt Walsh. You guys, do you understand what you're even saying right now? That this is not the way that you're wanting to go backwards. You're wanting to go backwards in time. That does not work, Matt Walsh. You need to learn how to go forward, you fucking imbecile.
With census data, which of course excludes illegal aliens. But, this melting pot stuff is almost beside the point anyway. Even if America is a melting pot, however you define melting pot, that does not answer the question of identity. Melting pot is not an identity. Let's just agree with Sam Seder for a moment, just for the sake of argument. It's a melting pot. Fine. Melting into what? And for what purpose? Like, that's the question, Sam. What are we melting into? Why? Imagine that I told you, let's say I told you about an exciting new organization that I just founded. I said, I just founded an organization. You're going to love it. And you ask me, well, what is the organization? And I say, oh, it's an organization with a bunch of different kinds of people. It's a melting pot of people. Do you see how you would still have absolutely no clue what the hell sort of organization it is? I would not have explained anything about what the organization actually is or why it exists or what its purpose is. Yes, it has lots of different kinds of people. Great. Why? What are they doing? What is the context? That's the question that Sam cannot answer. He's debating national identity, but he has absolutely no conception of what our identity actually is. That's why when Sarah asks him,
So this is just great. You know, we have Matt Walsh just proving again how much he hates anyone that's not white, that is not conservative. Anyone that's not white and conservative, we fall below that. And yeah, he's going to continue to do it. Somebody needs to do something about all this. I'm not going to say exactly what, but yeah, you guys keep on watching Sam Seder. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. It's another day in the progressive way.